Evolution of Civil Rights in American History from Founding Principles to Modern Progress by Joel Bodeker. I wanted to start off with what are civil rights and why do they matter? So by definition, civil rights is the rights of citizens to political and social freedom and equality. See, their purpose is to protect individuals from discrimination and oppression by governments, social institutions, and individuals. See, the foundations of civil rights in America's founding documents. See, our founding fathers believed in civil rights. They put it in the Declaration and Bill of Rights. In the Declaration of Independence, it says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness." See, each person has certain unalienable rights that they wanted to protect. They felt like at this time that Britain was imposing on theirs, and so they wanted to start off America with stating that these are these rights and they should not be touched. And in um, the Bill of Rights guarantees individual freedoms and protections. The First Amendment is the one that I want to look at specifically for civil rights. It talks about free speech, religion, press, assembly, and petition. This will come in later on a little bit when we talk about um, movements such as the civil rights movements and things like that. The early on limitations. So, they make these documents, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, but not everything is exactly 100% how they want it to be. So you have slavery first. Slavery was a big deal. You had the South they were banking on slavery to hold up their economy and their society just because they had farmland and all those different things that they needed people to work, and they needed people to work cheaply. And then you have the lack of rights for women. Just like African Americans, women could not vote, and women could also not fully participate in public life. Um, and that brings us to slavery versus civil rights. This is where we see the big first explosion. The Civil War was a conflict between the northern states and the southern states. Now, it wasn't the 50-state United of America that we know, but it was separated between the northern states, the Union, and the southern states, the Confederacy of the United States. It was primarily fought over the issue of slavery. The southern states did not want to let go of the African American people because they needed them to work their fields to keep their economy alive. While the northern states, they didn't need the support of slavery, so they didn't support slavery. They wanted to treat African Americans like people. So that brings us to Abraham Lincoln. He's the 16th president of the United States, but he's also the leader of the northern states. And then that brings us to Robert E. Lee, who was the leader of the Confederate Army, um, who is the southern states. The victors of the Civil War. So you have the northern states going up against the southern states, and this battle, this war is catastrophic. The amount of death is crazy. It's actually more than World War One, World War Two, and even the Revolutionary War, not combined but separately. But the northern states win this war, and this results in the 13th Amendment, which abolishes slavery. You have the 14th Amendment, which guarantees citizenship and equal protection under the law for all persons born or naturalized in the U.S., including former slaves, prohibited denying voting rights based on race, color, or previous conditions of servitude through many. Oops. Yeah, so, anyways, I don't know what just happened, but you have the 13th, 14th, and 15th amendments that are getting rid of all of these stipulations, but it's not 100% perfect. So you still have white people thinking that they're better than black people. So then you see segregation. So you have the segregation of schools. So you have white schools and you have black schools. You have white bathrooms and black bathrooms, and then black people sat in the back of the bus if a white person came on the bus. That's where we see Rosa Parks, where she didn't want to give up her seat, and this just becomes a big deal, where the African American people did not feel comfortable with this. They moved, they pushed, and their leader was Martin Luther King Jr. We all have heard of him talking about the "I Had a Dream" speech. He led the civil rights movements, but they're not the only movements that end up happening. You have women's suffrage, so they wanted equal pay, they wanted workplace equality, and they wanted the right to vote. And so, in around 1920, it passed the 19th Amendment, which allowed women to vote. But the thing is even currently, you still have people pushing back on the gender pay gap, as some would say. Then that takes us to the LGBTQ rights. They wanted rights to marry, and they didn't want to be discriminated against. But the United States has a Christian background. It's built on Christian faith. I talked about this in one of my discussion posts on how God was with us through the Revolutionary War. There's no way we could have won that war without a miracle, and it's because we built our foundation on Christianity. And so there's a little bit of backlash from the Christian community on LGBTQ rights. There's very strong opinions out there on, they shouldn't be allowed, they should be allowed, and all the things. Yeah, and that takes me to the end of my presentation on civil rights. And that's the end. Thank you so much for listening.